Mr. Conradi, you ready? You take a minute with that niche.
I'm good.
All right, I'll call the meeting to order and ask that we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Margaret Colgan will lead our statement.
The Shelter Island School mission statement: engage, explore, empower. We want our students to cherish our small island community while applying and expanding their learning about, understanding of, and engagement with the wider world. To do this, they must be ethical and moral individuals, respectful and responsible communicators, creative and analytical thinkers, knowledgeable and literate readers, writers, mathematicians, and scientists, participants in and audiences for art, drama, music, athletics, and other artistic, cultural, and social activities, skilled and successful workers and consumers, committed and active citizens.
Thank you, Margaret. Okay, we're going to move right into our budget presentation for the budget revote. Dr. Dolgen.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. Obviously, last Tuesday night's result was not what we had hoped for. So last week, the administrative team met with the Board of Education to come up with a plan, and that's hard to believe. The vote was last Tuesday, that was last Thursday, and here we are on Wednesday. Wednesday, yeah. So it's been a lot of work in a short amount of time. The board, this is our plan that we're presenting. The board asked me and Todd and Jen to make sure that we notified any affected individuals with this modified budget first, which we did over yesterday and today, and we notified the staff today in the faculty meeting after school, and now obviously we are here updating the community on all this. So I'm just going to run through a little bit of what this all means. Obviously the budget failed, the proposed budget failed. What comes next? So our state law permits a second vote on the budget, and that vote has to happen on June 17th, which it will here. There is no revote permitted on any other matter. It's just the only proposition that could be on there is the school district budget. There's no fit center reserve, there's no school bus, and there's no Proposition 4. So the board has three choices. They could go back to the voters with the budget that attempts to pierce the property tax cap again. They could go back to the voters with the budget that is at or below the property tax cap, or they could decline the second vote and go directly to a contingency budget, which would keep the levy the same as this current school year. That's not a great idea, as we know. Option 3 there, and the board really and the administration really talked about, do you go with option 1 or option 2 there? But one thing to consider is if the voters turn down the budget on the second vote, the district is mandated to operate on a contingency budget. So what is a contingency budget? There is no purchase of equipment for any reason on a contingency budget. The tax levy in the following school year must be exactly the same as the levy in this school year. And there is no use of school by outside community groups. So basically the building is sort of shut down to anything but non-essential activity. It also has, contingency budget also has long-term financial implications for the school district that will carry on into future years. Future levies will be misaligned with future expenses. For example, the rate you increase, the percentage rate you increase your budget each year compounds over the years that follow. If you have a 0% thrown in there, that 0% not only affects the year it's in, but it affects the year and year and year and year after that. Programs in the contingency budget, further programs and needs for students would have to be cut and would be negatively impacted. Our Wall Street ratings agencies may seek to downgrade our district's economic outlook, which also could negatively impact our borrowing rates and other debt costs. So the administrative recommendation to the board is to go back to the voters with the budget that is at the property tax cap. There's a couple of reasons for that. As I said, the board could have gone to a budget that was the same or a little lower. But if we did that and it went below 60%, it would have truly been catastrophic for our school district. Something that would be hard to come back from. So the budget rejected by the voters called for a levy increase of about $800,000 or 6.97%. The 25-26 property tax cap allows the levy to rise $245,000 or approximately 2.13%. Therefore, under the way we decided to go as a district, we must develop a spending plan that removes at least $556,000 from the plan that was rejected on May 20th. The maximum expenditure budget cannot exceed $13.298957. So that's our new tax levy that would not exceed the cap to get to that number, and that's what we've done. So the goals in reducing the budget were to make reductions that affect the fewest number of students possible, such as perhaps a lightly subscribed elective versus a school-wide program that affects everyone. Make reductions that eliminate portions of programs rather than entire programs, for example, some field trips versus eliminating our whole field trip programs. Making reductions to expenses related to staff rather than students. For example, we greatly reduced the amount of professional development for staff in this upcoming year versus getting rid of sports or clubs. And this is a summary of all the stuff that we are proposing to cut from, again, that current budget that we had. Our Board of Education portion of the budget, where if you focus on the center column there, recommended reductions, we are recommending $6,921 in reductions. And that's mostly contractual expenses, travel and conference, any conferences the board goes through, travel, and materials and supplies. We were able to cut the $69.21 there. From our central and business administration, we are cutting that by $39,225. That is a reduction due to retirement. We were able to reconfigure the office fairly recently, within the past couple of weeks, so that the new person that was coming on would save the district about that price. Facilities, we are recommending reductions of $55,251. That's a reduction in the staff shuttle costs. That's also contractual expenses, and that's parts of our security project will be redesigned. That was in this budget. It's not going to be eliminated, but it is going to be redesigned to weigh heavily more on the aid we received from Assemblyman Thiel. May take a little bit longer, but we're still committed to trying to get that done. Our property insurance and BOCES administration, we're projecting no change, no reduction there. That sort of is what it is. Our academic administration and general instruction, we are proposing the elimination, unfortunately, of the pre-K3 program, 50% reduction in field trips, some contractual expense savings, some travel and conference savings, some material and supplies savings there as well.
Ryan, sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can you just clarify the 50% reduction in field trips? It's like what the school covers, correct?
Yes, good question, Kate. Yeah, so many of our field trips are largely funded by the Lions Club, some fees there, but mainly through the Ed Foundation. Excuse me. We receive many grants through the Ed Foundation, which is great. We get some money from the Lions Club, which is great. We sort of supplement that at the school, the big grants that we get for them for our major field trips. So what we did was we took half of those lines out of our supplementing of those. What we're hopeful for is to potentially reach out to those organizations, the Lions Club and the Ed Foundation. I know Margaret had mentioned that Ed Foundation may begin to approve transportation requests. That's really a large portion of what the school usually funds is the transportation portion, really because that foundation doesn't ever, that's always been in their bylaws, I think, right, Margaret, the transportation. So So yeah, Kate, it's really more, we're cutting the supplementation of what we receive from those organizations. And we're hopeful that outreach to some outside organizations will help bring as much of that back as possible.
To reduce the burden on the
To reduce,
families.
exactly, yes, exactly, Kate, to reduce the burden, and if not, if the trips have to go through, yes, the burden goes unfortunately to the families. Okay, and contractual expenses there, travel and conference there, and materials and supplies. Our special education and other instruction, we are projecting or recommending, $127,000 cut. That's a partial reduction in the school social worker in her schedule. We are, Mr. Stanzione left last year. We have not filled the position yet. We plan on hiring that position back. That's to assist Walter in technology at half the position. And special education teaching positions are cut partially as well. As well as with the academic administration position, there was a partial elementary position reduced with that. But for this portion of special ed, we are projecting $127,000 savings. Clubs and athletics, we are recommending $33,000 in cuts, unfortunately. And with that is a reduction in chaperone costs, elimination of the winter track program, contractual expenses, and travel and conference. And Mr. Galuccio had met with just like we wanted to meet with any staff affected and all of our faculty. Mr. Galuccio met with the students and the coaches affected with that prior to this meeting as well. Transportation, and this is what really saved us as a district from this being any worse, is that we have, and we haven't signed it yet, but in theory or in words, we have an intermunicipal agreement with the East Hampton School District. This year we have been, they have taken on our South Shore, our South Fork routes. Next year they have agreed to taking on all of our routes, our on-island routes, our North Fork routes, and our South Fork routes, as well as the supplementary routes that go to the different organizations we send students to. That's going to yield us a very significant savings of about $150,000, which really saved us this year from getting to this point, as tough as it is. What else is cut? Our benefits, we're projecting a $5,600 additional cut. That is when you reduce employees' roles to part-time or elimination, the benefits is lowered as well. And payments to ERS, TRS, or whatnot that comes along with the salary of those employees, they're just taken out of a different line. Our debt service, we are reducing $3,000 in our 10 interest costs. And then our transfer to other funds are staying the same. As you can see, the recommended reductions are $556,000, $443, and that takes our appropriation that if adopted to the voters of $13,298,882, which is tax cap compliant. One thing I failed to mention I updated it on my slide in the computer, but it didn't update here. Under the academic administration, part of that $132,000 is unfortunately the elimination of the summer school program that we have here.
Excuse me.
We will still offer the mandated special education services over the summer, but the general education summer school program is projected to be reduced. And again, the total recommended reductions there are $556,000, $443, and as I mentioned, that brings us into being tax cap compliant at $13,298,882. Our next steps over the next week, the administration in conjunction with the Board of Ed and Shelter Island Community will evaluate these recommendations to determine if other choices are more advantageous to the students of the district. Obviously, none of these reductions are welcome, but reductions are needed to deliver a budget that is property tax compliant. It's a pretty quick schedule that we have in place over the next couple of weeks. The budget will be adopted hopefully this Monday at 6 o'clock by the Board of Ed. Then the week after that, on the 9th, is a public budget hearing at 6 p.m. And then, what?
I think the budget adoption is 5 o'clock.
Oh, budget adoption is 5 o'clock, okay. By the Board of Ed, budget public hearing at 6 p.m. And then on June 17th, the budget vote is same as last time from 12 to 9 p.m., except it will be in this room, not in the auditorium. In the auditorium, we have our sports awards, right?
Yeah,
sports awards
are Tuesday.
taking place that night. Okay. Are there any other questions from the board?
How is the shuttle being cut down?
It's TBD, Dawn, but we cut it by about, I think, 3/4. So we're gonna try to talk with the teachers to see if maybe there's only a run in the morning or seasonally or something like that. So we cut the appropriation to it, but we're gonna try to work with them the best to see how that would work.
Because there's still the same issue with the ferries.
Exactly, yeah.
The congestion.
Yeah, exactly, Dawn. Yeah, it's tough, yeah.
I think we're thinking the morning time tends to be the more difficult time, and then seasonal.
Mhm.
Any other questions, Ryan? I have a couple of comments I want to make. Okay, so I just want to address a couple of things that have come my way or by way of the rest of the school board. And when it's more than a couple of people saying something, I feel like it's worthwhile to address it. The first is there are a number of people saying, just put up the same budget and it will pass. So there's nothing we would like more than to put up the same budget and have it pass. This budget was crafted to really sustain us for likely the next 8 to 10 years, which is what our last budget, the last time we pierced the cap, we had 10 years without having to pierce the cap. So it was a long-term plan, and now we are back to a short-term plan. So we will be doing the exact same thing next year. But as Dr. Dolger pointed out, it's not worth the risk to our students. Nobody up here, no one in the school is willing to take that gamble that, oh, it's definitely going to pass. It's not a guarantee. And if it were to go down, it would be absolutely devastating. And I would have to walk away. I couldn't, none of us could stand that thought. Second thing I want to mention is the propositions. So propositions on the budget have absolutely nothing to do with the school board or the school district. It's how democracy works. Somebody wants to put up a proposition, they follow all the rules, they get all of the valid signatures on a petition, they bring it to our district clerk, she walks you through the whole thing. That's just how it works. We don't word it. Once we get it, it's good to go.
And the language.
And the language, that's, yeah, my
is-
second piece is
from
that,
the attorneys.
right, we don't determine the verbiage of the propositions. Our legal team determines it. And we're here to answer the questions, and we're here to talk about it, and Dr. Dolger is always available to pick up the phone. We don't pitch one way or the other. We don't profess opinions on propositions. It's how democracy works, once again. A third thing that was brought to our attention, a couple of people in the community have suggested that in the past, if a budget needed to be pared down, it would be done by removing the cafeteria and/or the buses. So even if we were to go to a contingency budget, that would never be removed. And by the way, we would never remove that because feeding children is important, and there's a big population here who are getting 2 hot meals a day, and it's a pretty big deal in their lives. Also, getting a ride to school means that you are getting to school. So whatever budget we're putting forth, we would never cut a bus or a cafeteria. Again, feeding and getting them here is considered essential by the state of New York, and we didn't need the state of New York to tell us that because we would always pay for it. It's popular to suggest that we have a heavy administration here. There's nothing farther from the truth. The school out east that most likely resembles us in number of students has a budget that's almost double ours, and they have upwards of 5+ administrators there. We actually have been down 1 administrator for the past 6 years because when our school business official left to the tune of $120,000 a year plus benefits, And that was 6 years ago, so we'd be looking at somewhere around 150, 160 now. Dr. Dolger just picked up that thread along with the rest of the team in the building, crafting the budget and just doing what a business official does with some consulting work on the side. 20 plus years ago, there was one person at the helm here, and the reason that isn't the case anymore is that there are mandated requirements by the state of New York. We are required to have a superintendent. Schools are required to have a principal. Schools are required to have an athletic director. However, the superintendent determines who wears what of the many, many, many hats worn by the administrators in this building is entirely up to him and the school board, and we stand behind everybody that sits up here. Lastly, I would say that if anyone has a question, we are here. We are here again next week, the week after. Dr. Dolger is the most accessible superintendent probably in the entire state. He answers the phone, he stands at the front door and the back door. He's at every event. I could say the same for Mrs. Rylat and Mr. Galuccio and anyone up here if you go about that in a way other than social media. We're happy to answer any questions you have. We are once again looking for your support on June 17th. The polls are open from noon to 9, and I am done.
Good job.
Are there any visitor comments or questions?
Can you explain a little bit about the cuts to special ed? I mean, I'm aware that the way they were done, nobody's IEP is, canceled out or played with in any way. There seems to be more staff things in other ways, but whatever you can say about that, because I think that, people are used to thinking, well, we're stuck with that whole part of the budget no matter what's in it.
Reallocation of.
Reallocation. So you may see a decrease in something like maybe electives or AIS services, consolidation of things. So that is how we are handling that.
Thanks.
I'll just add one thing. I went through a range of emotions since the first proposed budget was rejected by the community. And sitting in front of a nearly empty audience, it's just, I don't know, I'm getting teary.
So
Just so
take a
mad.
minute, you're
Yeah.
getting teary. So even when our budget results were read, sorry, just doing it. Mrs. Dunning got choked up reading the results because we've been told by a number of people it's not personal, don't take it personally. And it's very personal. Because the reason we sit up here is because we care about the students in this district. I don't have children in the building anymore, I'm still here. Everyone who sits up here genuinely cares, and anything we have to remove, it's not being done to anyone but them. And it's really difficult. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna speak for you while you
Yeah,
catch
no,
your breath.
I'm good,
There
thank you. I'm just very disappointed that the many people who chose to reject the budget to send a message are not here, are not willing to take the time to be here and have questions answered and have their comments heard before we get to the point of the vote. I don't want to be here knowing that some talented and loving staff members were told that their time is being cut. It sucks. So I'd love to see people, I really want to be blunt, I'm like, I'd just love to see people like grow a pair, I know, like that's really and show up and have adult conversation. This takes so much time. We'd all rather be with our families. That's it.
Thank you.
I had something to
Mr. Randall.
So, obviously, we're all very disappointed with the results of last week's results. However, we do take the message sent seriously. Over the last year or so, the tax burden on the taxpayer on Shelter Island has gone through the roof. Whether it be, remodeling the library, which is a big burden on taxpayers, a reassessment, a request of extra funds to operate a museum within the town. It's one thing after the other, and unfortunately, the way the system's set up is you get to directly vote on a budget for children and education. And I believe that many of the taxpayers use that frustration that they have on election day here against our students. Being on the school board here over the last 2 years, I've got to see the board members, the administration, take every single decision very seriously and assess what financial options were available to them. Those include transportation, consolidating resources with other districts, cutting back on their own conference time, whatever it would take to lower that. And taxes, not taxes, but insurance rates and other uncontrollable costs continue to rise at a rate faster than our 2% tax cap. So as we look at this budget and we were able to come under the 2% tax cap, we need to do some long-term planning to make sure that in the future, collectively, the school, the community come together to make sure that we put something forward where we could offer our students the best education possible without reducing any of our standards and staying committed to our taxpayers, which we've been doing. But I'd like to ask everybody to support our budget put forward on the 17th and vote yes.
Thank you. Okay. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. Steve and Margaret. Okay, thank you, everyone.